And before I introduce my panelists, let me quickly just run you through the topics. New dates for exit examination. WASSCE August 3rd, BEC September 14th, I beg your pardon. Disaster looms as EC prepares to compile new voters register. The insight. Mona versus police. NDC hijacks bloodshed case. Church leaders ignore Akufo-Addo as they keep their churches closed. Okay. I'm not going to be discussing that one, but essentially we're going to be looking at three very important topics. New dates for exit examination. Education is very crucial. And also disaster looming as EC prepares to compile new voters register. We'll juxtapose that with Bernard Mona's invitation and what transpired yesterday at the police headquarters. I have been joined privilegedly so by Honorable Rashid Pelpuo. He's the MP for Wa Central. Good morning to you, Honorable. Thank you very kindly for your time. And also the incoming MP for Anyaa Sowutoum Constituency in the person of Dr. Adomako Kissi. Also, Dr. Marzuq, who is a lecturer, is also here seated. Good morning to you, sir. And a scholar as well is here seated. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you very kindly for your time. These are the topics that we've tabled for our conversation. I would want to respectfully ask you to share with us what your views are to our WhatsApp number 0260846539. We're also
Good morning to the cherished viewers of ours, and thanks for the opportunity to be here. This is very important. First of all, we need to understand that it is one of the negative effects of the devastation of coronavirus, and it is important for all of us to manage it very well. Examination is one of the four traditional benchmarks of education. First of all, we have objective, we have content, we have methodology, and then to be able to analyze the effectiveness of the three, you need to assess, and that calls for examination. It's critical, very important. And we can't blame anybody for the rescheduling of the examination, but we need to also look at it in the context of transformation, in the context of moving from one stage to another. We are dealing with senior high school.
Clearly.
That becomes a point of moving to the tertiary. And we know the various academic calendars of various universities in this country. Majority of them start in September. That is if there is no problem at all. Majority of them starts in September. Now the universities themselves are going to write, they are going to handle their examinations and all those things. So it is good, but we cannot handle this one in isolation. We need to understand, if WASSCE is to be conducted in August, and then most universities and other tertiary institutions will open in September, what are the measures put in place to ensure that the conduct of WASSCE and the entry to the university will be harmonized? We need to look at that. Unless, of course, the government has come out with a measure that will ensure that some of these universities, or even all the tertiary institutions, will also revise their academic calendars in line with the conduct of WASSCE. Because it is impossible to use 1 month to to conduct the examination for the students to move to the tertiary institutions. So we need to look at that. That is the only worry of mine. Then BCE, and then as for the BCE, we don't have much problem. But as I said, coronavirus has come to ensure the reconfiguration of human behavior, and a critical aspect of life is education. This gives us the opportunity to ensure a high level of academic review. We need to review our educational system. It is not a must. It is not a must. The assessment should just be the traditional form of examination where people are expected to sit for a particular period of time, just in a way of assessing them. Yes, permit me to use right. Some linguists are of the view that it is improper to say writing examination, but because we are conducting a public discourse, permit me to use that one,
please,
for public understanding.
Please.
You know, time has come for us to review our nature of examination. Examination, the kind of examination that we conduct for our students and we force our students to write is the same thing that has been handed to us by the colonialists. So it can be described as part of the colonial legacy. 21st century, we still think that students at the final year, students in the final year should have a particular day to write a particular examination, and that will form the basis of the larger, that will be the basis of larger aspect of their assessment. I think that is unfair. That is not in line with modern trends. Let us come from the junior high and senior high level. Let us ensure the sense of research. We can do it. Let us start there, because we are now in an era of knowledge, an era of technology, an era of enlightenment, an era of intellectualism, and you can't do anything without research. Let us now understand that time has come for us to introduce a high level of research at all levels of education, even the BCE level. So let's make it clear. Yes, I know we have continuous assessment, which gives the students the opportunity to be assessed throughout the studentship from first year to last year, but that is not enough. Let us ensure that this time round we will have minimal level of one-day examination, a maximum level of take-home assignments. These take-home assignments should be research-based, so that from day one, you introduce the learners into a kind of research, so that at the end of the day, when they move from the junior high, they come to the senior high with the research mentality. Then they move from senior high to the tertiary institution. When they come to the tertiary institution, then we will be confronting one of the evils of our current educational system, and that is conformity.
True.
Conformity is very, very wrong. We need to, because it is in our educational sector that a lecturer can boast, can even tell you, I will fail you. If you joke, I will fail you. And if you joke, he will fail you.
It happened to me when I was in KNUST.
They do that.
My psychology lecturer.
Yes. It's important. It's very bad. You know, when we talk of academic freedom, it is something that should be enjoyed by members of the academic community. The members of the academic community are lecturers, academic administrators, and students.
Yeah.
So they are also supposed to be. So, and it is within the right of the student to challenge a lecturer, and that calls for the progress of knowledge. Today, I can tell you, and with all due humility, even though we don't do it at University of Applied Management, I can tell you that most lecturers are not researchers. They are also students of Google. You go to Google, they just pick everything from Google. So they themselves are students of Google. They go there and then plagiarize, bind these pieces of plagiarism and call them handouts.
Sell them.
And then the handouts are tied to examination. You buy my handout, you pass. You don't buy my handouts, you don't pass.
That's a fact.
This is counterproductive to the intellectual norms of critical thinking and logical reasoning that are supposed to be prevalent in our universities. I think if we are able to come out with a kind of examination system that will ensure continuous assessment, research-based approach, those evils could be solved. One of the evils that this system can solve is the sexually acquired grace. You know, yes, SAG, sexually acquired grace. That is money, sex for marks. That recently cropped up in one of the universities in this country. I think, because if we are able to do that, it will be very difficult for us to give the lecturer so much autonomy. Yes, the lecturers have what we call the intellectual autonomy or academic autonomy, but the autonomy is subject to the interest of the learner.
That's a fact.
Right, and therefore we need to come up with another measure. We are now in a time of science and technology, Honorable. Honorable and incoming honorable. Yes, so let's use computer-based assessment that cannot be manipulated by any individual in academic gown, calling himself or herself a lecturer, who is unfortunately a bully. You understand that? We need to adopt technology so that at the end of the day, we'll ensure that examination is simple, is fair, is progressive, is intellectually oriented, and productive. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You've taken us on some academic journey this morning. Let me now bring in Honorable Dr. Rashid Pelpuo. You've ever been a lecturer before, I guess?
Those are part-times and
okay.
not regular.
Not regular. All right. So you're more like an adjunct lecturer sometimes. Okay. So you also, and I do know that you have a lot of interest in education, because even in your campaigns, consistently it's come up that you are for education. You've supplied some educational materials to some of the schools in your constituency. So, I mean, there's no denying the fact that you are also very excited about education, and you are into education, and you want for every Ghanaian to be educated. What do you make of this particular decision to open up the system for the senior high school Form 3s to write the exams, and also the JHS students also write their exams and things? And how are we going to be able to deal with this reopening of schools in light of the global pandemic that we are still having to grapple with?
Well, thank you so much, and good morning to our
good morning,
especially those from Western Plan. I think that it's a good thing that has happened for government to now see the need to temper into opening the universities, because not just the universities, all the schools, we would need to keep our students in school, would need to keep the younger generation of our people who are coming up to take over the control of this country, the strength, the fortitude, the intelligence to be able to manage the affairs of this country. Now, there is a threat to the future of this country if the educational system is crippled, because it's essential, it's critical for us to make sure that the educational system runs. So in whatever way we can, to make sure that we are able to get the system running is good.
Yeah, Honorable, that's a very important point, but halt it for me. Let me just go for this quick commercial break. If you can recall whatever you said, I beg you, take it a step back and start again for me.
All right.
Quick commercial break. Stay with us. We shall return shortly.
It's incredible! Bang on target!
Hello?
Oh, sound.
Okay, why? My wife comes and send a message. Your face is almost free. Hello? What's happened?
It's a child who's will be a quiet say what? A dear sir.
We side for a fair. I'm so young. You have not testing messages here. And our office also. I'm trying to tell you, man. She says, I
mean, so we a guy manu and may young who could look cry. And also wants a family drilling company limited for Kana.
What's the name? Family Drilling Company Limited.
Here to borehole, biofuel, biogas, swimming pool, plumbing works in Nassau, ye be, Frey 0240 333-111 and that's 0244-144-822.
Miampa and you want to do me fee. Me want to you be be family drilling now. Family drilling. Me out
Apologies to you. Honorable, I needed to break your chain of thought, truncate your chain of thought for a while, but I respectfully want you to just start again for me, because I really loved how you started. If you can start.
Yeah,
again.
thank you so much. I send greetings of shouts to my friends and my constituents and the rest of the people who are listening and viewing us. I'm saying that this decision by the Minister of Education is a good decision, because it is ensuring that we don't have a situation where the pandemic will break down the educational system, because the education is the one sector that has a potential of crippling a nation or developing a nation. So far, we have not been very serious with our educational system. I mean, since history, since independence, we've not been able to tackle the educational system, temper with our curriculum to reflect the needs of our people. We have been running a system, as he said, the colonial system of going to school, being punished and being made to conform, and then you come out and you are terrified and you are not imaginative and creative. But it's important that despite everything, we have an educational system running. We have a people who can take over the running of this country. Now, if the pandemic cripples business and cripples our educational system, it's terrible for everybody. So I think that for us to open up the system for those who are in final year to go back to school and finish, it's a good thing, and we hope that they would go and keep all the protocols, because whilst we are there, the teachers must ensure that the specifications given to them in distancing, in touching each other, in the way they do things together must be respected, so that children who have been entrusted in their hands will not come back with COVID just because they want to go and write and finish an exam. We don't want to report sickness, we don't want to report deaths. So the teachers must be given some orientation. The schools must be given some orientation, not just to speak to them and say open. They must call them together at regional levels, teach them how to manage a school where COVID is a fear in the lives of people, so that we can have a COVID-free regime in which schools will open and students can navigate away from it and be able to come back home without having to incur the sickness or catch the sickness. So it's good news, and I just hope that the educational departments will follow it up with more specified regulatory system in place. Yeah.
Look, let me still stay with you. I mean, people have said that COVID-19 has brought in its wake some dynamics.
Yeah.
Within all political, environments. People are now having to change their modus operandi within some specific sectors and things like that. And this COVID-19 has actually presented African countries an opportunity to redesign the model that we've always operated for all this while. Now, such models, obviously, in the estimation of many, some schools of thought believe that this is the time for us to, for instance, change our educational system and introduce a model that best works for the people. And as has been demonstrated by you and Doc, it appears that we are still running a system which doesn't ensure that once a student leaves the senior high schools, even if they don't go to the university, they can still survive by doing something for themselves, because then the system that they go through is one that makes them very creative and innovative. So why are we rushing to open up schools when we could have seized this opportunity to redesign the educational structure that we have?
Actually, you are running a certain system which is known by those who are benefiting from it, the students. And so it has a conclusive edge. So when you get there, that's it, you finish. In that tertiary situation, meaning that terminal situation, you will have to make sure that you finish that one. If you want to change an educational system and rush into doing it, it won't work. I think that this is a learning curve for all of us. From independence to now, we would have learned something and taken instructions from what has happened to now look into the future. If COVID-19 cannot teach us any lesson at all, then it was useless suffering it.
Yeah, the reason why I'm saying that this is an opportunity for us, and I've been alive to the Professor Anyaa committee that was put together to redesign our educational model. It had its own challenges because there was no consensus from all political divides. So we realized that NDC came to power and said that no, let's reverse it again. But this COVID-19 has given us an opportunity, and I think that all the conversations that we've had over the period has been one. Everybody has seen the devastating nature of it. Everybody has seen how it has affected fundamentally the economic structures of countries, and everybody also is looking into the future to also, take advantage of some of these shortfalls that COVID-19 is bringing, in order that they can redesign things. So there will be some level of consensus at all levels within the country. If, for instance, you want to change the educational system, people are not in a hurry, really, to take their awards back to school. And so this would have been the clearest of opportunities presented to whoever to redesign the model by bringing everybody onto the table for us to forge ahead. I can agree with you that the terminal ones, we can let it slide. But beyond that, we have an educational system to build. How are we ensuring that we take advantage of this?
I agree with you 100% that we need an educational system to develop. And as I said, it's been painful since independence to see that you train young people in this country who will come out from the university through the system into the university and finish, and they are in the corridors of offices looking for custom, ministry of this, ministry of that. He wants to work with MTN, this, that, without thinking about how to be creative himself or herself. You see, we have to train people who are imaginative, who are creative, who can build, and who can set up businesses on their own and be able to employ their others. I went to Germany the other time, and I was looking at their educational system. And what I came out and what I saw was something that is worth emulating. All students, by the time you get to final year, your chosen area of study, you won't finish it in school. The kind of thing we call attachment here is compulsory there. If you are doing computer science, by the final year, you are attached to a company for 1 year. They write your report to the university for them to award you a degree. If you are doing agriculture, you are attached to a farm. You go through everything about a farm, how to set up a farm, how to attract funding, etc., etc. And at the time, I just met a young guy who had just finished his university education. His father took him to, he read agriculture, so they took him to a farm, and when he came back, he told his father he wanted to do farming. And then he set up a farm in Germany. It was doing so well, and he decided to go to Africa, and he chose Zambia, and had set up a farm in Zambia, had employed over 100 people on the farm, and his idea was that he will employ about 1,000 people, and he'll be exporting to Germany, his products to Germany.
Wow.
A young man, about less than 30-year-old, but had machinery. He was able to attract funding from his government and was able to extend the funding into Africa. But that's very small as compared to the businesses coming up in Germany. When you bring a small business in Germany to Ghana, a small business in Germany is like $200 million business. If you bring it to Ghana, it's the best you can find. So everything about the education is tailored towards practical application of knowledge. And in that enterprise, you get young people coming out, not dependent on others, but dependent on their capacity, mental capacity, to demonstrate what they have learned in practical terms. And so I think that in our new educational system, we have to take time to do it. And as we do it, we should tailor it towards bringing up a holistic human being, a human being who is instrumental in his own life and who is instrumental in creating wealth in society, so that as we go along, society does not find the need, you know, to go import people from elsewhere. I had a shock of my life when I was minister in charge of private sector. I was showing discontent with how Talo and other you know, new oil companies were bringing people from outside, and I complained. And what I received was that they have a number of areas that they want to engage young Ghanaians in engineering, oil engineering, this, that. They listed the areas. You can't find one university training anybody in those areas. All we did was that oil and gas management, go to the UK to do oil and gas management. Who will be the technicians for you to come and manage? You know, so we need to re-examine our educational system and recalibrate the system with the times, so that we can get a benefit of the human beings. There are many human resources at our disposal.
How do we get there? Because, and I like how you described it.
Yes.
The description given to the new educational order for me is brilliant. It said the new educational system. That's how you described it.
Yes.
How do we get to the point where all that is happening will find expression in that new educational system that you are referring to? Policy has to change.
Yes.
So how do we ensure that we begin to have such conversations? And you are in Parliament. Can't you begin to ask these burning questions? Can't you begin to knock people's ideas and people's heads together in order to erupt this particular, you know, concept that you have about the new educational order? Because of the example that you've given about Germany.
Yeah.
And which example can easily, you know, happen in Ghana. But what kind of conversations are we having? At what level are we having these conversations? Are we willing for all of us to change the system that we have in order that we can bring about a system that is workable, that is sustainable, that will ensure the individual and national development of people, for instance? How do we get there?
It's a very important question. How do we go there is very important. How do we go there can be answered by the type of educational system we wish to now address. We need to not just rely on a few people who will go into you know, who will go into plenary sessions and discuss a new system and then hand it over to government. Government looks at it and puts it in their drawers, and you know, to gather dust. It's important that it catches up with the collectivity of the people. It's important that we sound it to the knowledge of everybody, so we know that, look, we are moving towards somewhere. Let's get the people along, go along with us, with government. It shouldn't be government alone. It should be a collective decision by the people that, look, let's change the system, and then we can change it. And I can tell you, the reason why Africa is not respected is because we feed from the leftover of Europe and America and the Asians. You see, everything left over, whatever Chinese has done, the kids of Chinese have done, the toys they make, is what we go to consume. If you go to the United States, whatever they don't like and throw away, that's what we want, the phones and things that we buy. If you come to Africa, if you come to any government, they go asking for grants. You know what grants are? Grants are monies that are given to us by Europeans and Americans for free. They say, okay, take this, but behave this way for us. And then you behave in that manner. Take it for free, $100 million. But make sure that your schools can do something like child education, sex education, bring it down to the local level. Go and implement it. Once we implement it, take $50 million. I'll add the next $50 million. And then you are happy because it's free money. You can chop out of it. You can make money out of it. Then you are rushing to do it. Those are the kinds of things they do to manipulate our minds, our mentality, our whole system, and create a vacuum in how we want to look like and what the reality is.
Can we create a system where specific, I call it the organs of the state, specific lungs of the state will not be for political appointment? For instance, education.
Yeah.
So that we would have technocrats fill those spaces and ensure that they are able to bring change. Sometimes I believe that the only reason why people are scared to bring about change is because they know that if you change something and it doesn't go well for the people, you know, be sure that you'll be exiting. So can we also begin to look at that?
It's important, but you see, in all that you need money. You need a political system that can sell it to the people. That's why I'm saying it has to go down to the individuals. With our desire should be that we want to change.
Right, your idea.
Because
I'll ask you. I'm going to no.
If the people don't agree or don't see the need for it, they are impervious to change. We want a system where, when the change is coming, it is accepted by everybody, and we run away with it. So, and we have to force the political system to do it, because that is where the money is spent. If you have technocrats who are intelligent, who come out with a system and it's admirable and it's not a vote catcher, nobody's going to take it. But if that is the will of the people and you put it in the budget, you sell it and we buy it, you win power with it, you must implement it the way we want it. So it's very important. And the last thing I want to say is that, look, we need to change. That change is important. If it is not done now, the way we treat people in America, the black people in America, the way they kick us in our ass in China, the way they, in Europe and everywhere, the black person is a thing of fear and disrespect, it will continue to happen. Homeland in Africa must begin to show distinction in how we view development. We don't have to get the police treat our people the way they treat them on the streets. We need to reform our prisons and make sure that prisons are for human beings and not for animals. When you go there and you see how people are crumped together in cells and in small prisons, it's unacceptable. The Ghanaian has to be treated well, with respect, even when they do wrong, so that when the outside world see that we respect the black skin, they will respect us. If we begin to develop with a capacity to invent and create value with the society and with the human resource and the natural resource we have, it will be possible for us to exhume the kind of respectability amongst the community of nations. Yeah.
Brilliant. Just brilliant. Brilliant. Well, if you just joined us, you're watching the News Review segment here on Pan-African Television. My name again is Kwame Owusu Danso. Brilliant submission by all standards by Dr. Rashid Pelpuo, who is the MP for Wa Central. Let me now come to Dr. Adomako Kissi this morning. Doc, let's hear from you.
Yeah, Kwame, thank you again for the opportunity to be here. And greetings to Anyaa, Sowutoum, Chairman Sam, Bashir Mohamed, the Secretary, and all the other family and friends in Anyaa, Sowutoum. Now, education, as Honorable Rashid Pelpuo has said, is a very huge deal and is the backbone of development. And I'm happy to have heard these wonderful things from Honorable Rashid Pelpuo. It is one thing we all can agree on, that if we move ahead as a nation, then our education system needs to be largely looked at and improved on. I have been weeping for almost 2 weeks now. Why do I weep? Nana Addo Dankwa has picked solid Supreme Court justices, and there's been almost very little talk about them. But the reason why I raise this point here is that if you look at their stellar academic performance and what they've contributed to society already, then it just shows that through education, people can really impact society. And the likes of Kulendi, I mean, very fine gentleman, and if you should read about him and come to know how education has brought him far, you'd come to believe in that thing, that when we transform individuals, we really transform the nation.
I was in the same secondary school with him.
Beautiful, beautiful. So beautiful. So this just shows that as part of Ghana's development, our education system cannot be disconnected, and I'm happy that we have Honorable Martin Opoku Prempeh at the helm of affairs. And I've said many times that he has performed well as a medical doctor in that domain. And I stand to be corrected. I believe that his education has made him a performer in a very different domain. Now, to add to it, COVID-19 has impacted our lives here in Ghana. And whether we like it or not, sorry, I think I have to take this off a little bit. Whether we like it or not, it has changed the way we do things in our country. It has largely affected us psychologically and has even affected examination time and all these things. Now, looking at how they've laid out the rules, I'm happy that as much as it has delayed the examination date, the examination will still go on. And I'm happy that they are looking at admitting even day students through the 6 weeks. And I believe that being borders will even improve the grades of all these students who were, day students. And I'm very happy about that. Now, to add to it, I had one mother say that she'll be very comfortable if all these students are checked for COVID-19 whilst they go into school. And I think the government should also consider that, because it will be, I don't know the entire student population that will be writing the exams, the SHS or the JHS, but I think
it's about 200,000.
I think 200,000 is doable as a nation. So I would beg that the Ministry of Health, Ghana Health Services, and Education should embark on this wonderful journey of ensuring that all the students that are going to be packed for those 6 weeks become a sample that we can go in and get them all at least tested. Because this by chance will also embolden us and make parents happy knowing that their children are safe. And I really think that if we should push this agenda, even the children will have a very sound mind, peaceful mind to carry out their exams through. Now, in all fairness, I must say that Ghanaians have comported themselves very well despite the trying times, despite the challenges. And I also have to commend our current government for decisions that have been taken over the entire period. And I need to remind Ghanaians that we should not be in haste to make any judgments with regards to COVID-19 and its management, with regards to COVID-19 and the educational services. I think that over the long haul, come maybe December or January of 2021, we will be in a better position to do a retrospective assessment and then state more clearly that yes, truly, these decisions by and large have been very good. And I would agree with them in terms of the need to modernize our education system, in terms of the need to make it more practical. As we have said here on this show before, our boys and women and girls who qualified and passed out through the Brilliant Science and Maths quiz ended up performing poorly when it came to the practical aspect when they went outside. So I would encourage and entreat our educational services to look carefully so that those doing a great, as Rashid Pelpuo has said, can be incorporated into agricultural industry so that they have a very practical and a sound experience in terms of education. And then more importantly, I think there's nothing more important than getting education and being a very good citizen. Sometimes we fail to appreciate that education is not strictly about just getting a job. No, I have come to believe that education makes you a better man or woman because largely it helps you make appropriate decisions for your family. You reduce your errors, you improve on your judgment, and that should be one of the things that we should be pushing day in and day out, that education helps you make good and better decisions compared to the average person. And more. I mean, I have sat through classes and examination with, excuse me to say, both Asians, and whites. And I mean, until I went to the US to study, I mean, I was also of the opinion that all Asians are brutal in terms of their, academic prowess, and then all whites were very brutal. But, when, as an African, I sat in class, performed very well with my small chemistry I knew from Ghana, I realized that we all have potential to perform when given the chance. Yeah. And I pray that through this free SHS program, which, I mean, we can't beat it enough, many lives will be changed. And the fruits of our labor now will be seen 10 years from now. And I think that is when many will come to appreciate the one thing that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has been stressing, that we need to educate people, whether under trees or under roof. Knowledge is critical. Knowledge will forever be more important than the environment in which you necessarily study. And I will beg all to encourage our children, encourage our women to stand in and get educated to the highest and utmost level that they can. There was one professor who's been called to the Supreme Court, and she performed marvelously. I mean, my mother, as we watched her, I was like, this is the beauty of education. She had no fear. She was bold, and she made her points in a way that it made sense. And I've come to appreciate the power of education. And I believe that through this intervention of students going back early to complete, will not have a disruption in terms of those who have to enter our universities, in a few months. And I think that Ghanaians should also, who are what I say, alumni of all these universities, in these times of COVID, and this is a humble plea. If you went to Accra Girls, if you went to Accra Academy, if you went to Infantipim, if you went to Infantiman, if you went to St. Peter's or St. Rose's, wherever it is,
Achimasafo Secondary School,
Achimasafo Secondary School, or Benko to Bensori School, whatever school it is, I will plead with alumni. Let's go and show love to all these final year students. We can provide them with some more Gary, more Nido, more Milo. They
don't want any visitor there.
Well, I mean, I think you're not visiting, you are donating to the school for the students. I don't think that one, they didn't say no donors. They didn't say no donors. So this is a time, you can even show cash love to any final year students. And what I mean by cash love is that, something to support them to go and finish hard these remaining 6 weeks. And I think Honorable Napo or Martin Opoku Prempe would not say that, Rashid, if you have several thousands of dollars to give education services, will say no, don't bring it. They'll largely receive it. I'm crying for the headmasters and headmistresses across the nation. They want to take very good care of our children. And if by any means corporate Ghana has some way of supporting our final years, I think they should show love. I would love them to do that. So I've used your platform for that.
Thank you.
So corporate Ghana.
Thank you.
And donors.
Okay.
Let's help our final year students, both JHS and then SHS.
Brilliant submission by all standards as well from Dr. Adomako Kissi. So right now what we are calling for, educational reforms. And I think that we have all been united in that regard, But I don't know, Doc. Oh, you wanted to quick, but let me just ask. Okay, you make a submission and I'll ask.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
One of the defects of our educational system is the gap between the industry and academia. And that calls for a review of the curricula. That the various curricula of the various programs must be designed to respond to the needs of contemporary society. The academic community alone cannot do it. They must collaborate with the industry players to come out with such
programs.
Yes. You understand? An educational system. Those programs will not just be meant for the classroom analysis. Those programs will be practically productive outside the classroom. But that is why, with all due respect, that's why all of us can agree with Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, when he says that seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. Practically, we are all dropouts. But if you have a very effective educational system, every dropout will be productive. We are all dropouts. Some are productive, others are not. From primary, some will not go to GSS, so they drop out there. Others will drop out at the GSS level. Some will go to SHS, and then they drop out. Others will go to the the tertiary institution, universities and others, and then they will drop out. Even at the university level, you go for your first degree, then you don't do your master's, you will become a dropout. You go for your master's, you don't go for your PhD, you become a dropout at that level. Then you do your PhD, perhaps you decide to be in academia, and then you don't work towards professorship, you become a dropout. You are a professor in a certain field, you are even the biggest dropout. You know why? You are only a professor in one discipline. There are millions of disciplines of which you are a dropout.
Thank you.
But if we have an effective educational system, all dropouts will be productive. Let's ensure that we learn from COVID. And if we learn well and tailor our educational system in line with the learning outcome of COVID.
System that runs from class 1, from nursery through kindergarten to the university, with a textbook that you have to learn and pass an exam.
Same one.
That is it. All that. Whether you change whether you say it's a 3-year course, you now step down the middle school level certificate to a JSS, or you go to make an SS 3 years or 4 years. It's not a system at all. You know, the policy, and it's not a policy at all. The system must have a defined policy. That policy will have to influence the behavior and conduct of a person who is going through it, so that you go through the system and the system goes through you as well. So it's a two-way affair. And as has been said by Doc, you know, in any educational system, there is a community and school relationship. The school is a microcosm of the community, so that if you want to do a policy, the policy must reflect thoroughly the needs and desires of the community, so that you can be churning out people who can be useful to society and to the community. Anytime there's a policy that doesn't seem to be like that, then it's a problem. When I finished the university and I started working, I shot up very quickly in my working life. I was a district coordinator. Then I was promoted to a regional coordinator. Before I even went to university, I went to do a university degree, came back, I was director of an institute. I performed so well. I did a master's degree whilst working. And then very quickly I was promoted to next in command, national, deputy national coordinator, and in my 30s. Then I got there and I got frustrated after working for 3 years. I said to myself, what will I achieve? A young man sitting in this big office, television, everything. Why? So I started talking. It's true. I got agitated. I started asking myself, what will I do next in life? Just sitting down like this. Then one day I just told myself I would leave this place. But if you are leaving, what skill do you have? Unfortunately, I'm a trained teacher. I'm a trained educationist, not necessarily a teacher. I read education psychology with economics. So I was trained to be able to teach. That helped me, that skill helped me to set up a consultancy. And I decided to do training and capacity building. So you see, I wasn't particularly taught how to set up a consultancy, how to use it to do something, but transferred knowledge. So if we can then teach people in this manner, not necessarily the book knowledge, but how to impact on society with a certain kind of specialized knowledge, we can do well, So when I left, I set up this consultancy. I was being paid today 90 cedis a month. Those days, it used to be 90 cedis a month, which was called 900,000. Then I started paying myself 400 Ghana cedis a month. 400,000 Ghana cedis a month instead of 90,000.
Today will be like 4,000?
Yeah. So, and I was disciplined. I would just pay myself. The people, the lecturers who used to come and help me, I'll give them small. I mean, I give much of the money to them because I can get a job that is lasting for 3 months. I can engage them to use 1 month to do it, and I can pay them for 1 month. And they'll be happy because that money I'll pay them will be far more, twice their salary that they will get. So you see, a small knowledge application can create an increasing value to an individual and can make society better and make changes in the lives of others. So that education policy must reflect the individual, in relation to the society he stays in, and in how to advance.
Ladies and gentlemen, your next education minister.
But that was that was the foundation of my education.
Yeah, of course.
All throughout,
yeah.
I changed. I couldn't even recognize that I did it when I did masters in different area, PhD in different area, and all that.
Most visited man. Yeah, okay, Doc, I'll also give you an opportunity to, but please, yes. Yeah. So, Doc, let's maybe you just wanted to add a quick thing to what you've said, and then we'll move on to the next topic.
Yeah. So in fairness, I think Ghana over the years we've gotten better, and we need to work extra hard to modernize our education, and we can't do it without a solid teacher population, and I'll plead. I think in the 60s, the kind of teachers we had were people who were very well qualified, and they've transformed many lives. And I'll plead that we should work hard on our teacher population and make sure that they are comfortable and make sure that they are well equipped to do the needful thing. It's just like taking policemen and not equipping them. If we're taking teachers, we need to do our very best to equip them with the resources. If a teacher doesn't have chalk and pen and all these things, how can he? If a teacher doesn't have a comfortable salary, he will go doing some farming after teaching. Instead of actually focusing on how he can transform poor performing students and all these things. So I'll plead with the Ghana Education Services that we should carefully also look at our teachers, so that they can transform our students.
Fantastic. Yeah. Doc, let me read a few. Okay, well, quickly.
Just one thing that I want African intellectuals to agree to do. Run away from intellectual cowardice. Our educational system should be designed in line with our own needs, in line with the culture of our society. You have conducted a lot of research. Can you talk of any citation system by the African continent? No.
No.
We continue to rely on APA, MLA, and other Western designed citation systems. I think time has come for Africa to do away with that intellectual cowardice. Let us have our own system of education, our own system of citation, and one way by which we can overcome the intellectual cowardice is to conduct education in our languages. I think it will be better for science and technology to be studied in Twi, Dagbani, any other African language or Ghanaian language better. I mean, people will understand it far better than because all the countries that have become the scientific scientific supremacists or technological supremacists have run away from English. The Chinese, the Korean, the Singaporean, everybody, they've all run away from English. I'm not saying that English should just be thrown away. It should be one of the media of communication and one of the media of instruction. But let's also explore the possibility of using other African indigenous languages as part of our educational system.
You disagree with that?
Oh, no. I think it's fine. But I just wanted to commend the UDS, University of Development Studies.
Okay.
The kind of innovation they have brought into studies is wonderful. And I've worked with a number of UDS students in my office, you know, as research persons. The kind of knowledge and practical application of knowledge they can demonstrate is so high and so admirable, because they have a period when they are let out to go into the field, study a particular social system, report on it, and show how you can solve a problem. And that becomes a part of the examination, you know, for them.
I see.
Yes.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. And so when they come out, they easily do it.
It's like a chassis.
Yeah. UDS is doing very well.
Fantastic. All right. So let me read a few of the messages before we look at the next topic. Francis Amenyenu, good morning, house. I'm very, very happy to see most senior Rashid Pelpuo on the set. Salute, sir. Festus Nkume. KOD, is our president a human rights activist lawyer? We are not discussing the president here. Ayu Farouk. When we get to the voter registration, I'll read your messages. Good morning to you, KOD, and your panelists, members, especially to your ever hardworking member, to our ever hardworking member of Parliament for West Central, Honorable Dr. Rashid Pelpuo, and that his constituents are willing and will surely maintain him come December 2020 polls. Marcelunos Samsalifu Ziema. Honorable Rashid Pelpuo, your knowledge is in-depth and you are an asset. Maintaining you in Parliament is all we will do. It says, Mashallah.
Mashallah.
Great leaders, somebody said, all of you, great leaders. Tanko Mohamed from Sarah Junction, 007, NDC Bench, Tamale. I will read your EC message later on. Dr. Adomako Kissi is the ideal man for the Anyaa Sowutoum constituency. I'm appealing to the delegates to vote massively for Dr. Number 1 on the ballot paper. Greetings to the assembly member for Santa Maria Nanakwesi Buanjo Jr. This is Nanaya Amwa from Sowutoum National Health Insurance Authority. And this one is for, obviously, Dr. Adomako Kissi. We need to have your advert on your campaign, eh?
Okay.
We'll play it for you. Skydom G says, good morning, gentlemen. Watching you live from Awoshi. Theophilus from Takrady says, really appreciate your efforts to support the educational sector in this country during this pandemic season. Your guests are really great motivational leaders.
Yeah.
Good morning, KOD. Greetings to Honorable Haruna Idrisu and Dr. Rashid Pelpuo. Indeed, Dr. Rashid Pelpuo is making my day. In fact, the EC, he brings the EC small. Hey, squad.
Maybe you can read them and then we can just...
Yes, we're actually going there. I don't want us to... Yeah,
okay,
so that, so, disaster looms. EC, as EC prepares to compile new voters register. This story was written by Kwesi Dua. And let me read a little bit of it. It says that the Electoral Commission has been cautioned to read cautiously, to tread cautiously, I beg your pardon, as it begins piloting of the registration exercise ahead of the compilation of the new voters register later this month. Political watchers, including the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, CODEO, are concerned about the time frame in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic and reports that mobile registration workstations needed for the exercise have yet to arrive. The concerns stems from recent experiences by the National Identification Authority, whose timetable was seriously disrupted by technical hitches at the onset of the mass registration in 2017, which was later tried again in June 2018 with the associate embarrassment in Parliament when the machines to be used would not print and distribute a simple format register. It goes on and on and on. And also, National House of Chiefs worried over conduct of the EC. So we're going to marry all of these topics and address them. Dr. Rashid Pelpuo, I'd like to now start with you. Please.
All right. Thank you so much. We were all shocked when we were told that Mona who has made a very simple, harmless statement should go to the police station and answer questions for making that statement. It gave an impression that people are gagged from saying things that don't please the authorities. When you go close to those ones, then you are in trouble. But that's also a hurt to our democracy. There are two ways about it. Oversensitivity about what touches on our nerves, and then treading on our liberties, an extent to which we can exercise free speech, which is something that nobody can agree with in this country. We have fought a long battle. We have come a long way. From independence, when we disobeyed the white colonial master, boycotted the system, people killed because of freedom, to the point when there was a June 4 and there was a 31st December revolution when a lot of people lost their lives. All these struggles was to culminate into a constitutional order, 1992 Constitution, where the rights and liberties of people are guaranteed in that Constitution. Now, for people to want to exercise that within the boundaries of that freedom, and for the law enforcement agency to clamp on them, is something of worry. We all know the Electoral Commission is doing something that is generally not acceptable to a greater number of Ghanaians. In fact, all the polls that have been conducted by organizations like Joy FM, City, and individuals about whether people want a new register or not returns an overwhelming no. So if that is the case, and that people really don't want a situation where we want to tread into an area which can cause us trouble, and somebody cautions about that, he doesn't need to be invited, he doesn't need to be seen as a common criminal. So I think that in saying this, I would be happy to send a message to the Electoral Commission to let them understand that this thing is not about just these votes. It's about the totality of our democracy. It's not about what Mona says. It's about the feelings, the sensitivity, and the pulse of Ghanaians. And that we would need to re-examine this situation, in detail. And the government
one minute. I think
we can box it
under this. Okay,
we can box it.
Okay, well.
So the EC prepares to compile new voters register. There's also Bernard Mona's topic here.
Oh yeah. I'm just putting the two
together. So let's box it together. It's fine. It's fine. It's the same issue, isn't it?
So
yeah, I get your point.
Thank you. Compile register
is what necessitated
what he has said.
Okay.
Now, why do we have to compile a new register? It's a critical question. The EC thinks that the present one is outmoded. We use the present one to elect a president. We use the present one to elect the members of the assembly.
Which president elected the EC?
Which president appointed the EC?
Yeah.
And today somebody asked a question. What register did we use when we were doing our primaries? What would the MPP use when they are doing their primaries? Of course, they were extracted from the voter register, because it's the EC that is coming to conduct the elections for them and for us all. Is the old register. Another question is, he's a chairman of a whole political party.
He's a chief.
He is responsible for what he says, and he knows that he has some boundaries within which he can tread when he's walking or when he's talking. And all along he's been careful and cautious. And for him to caution you, and the caution turns out to be something, that says the trigger for him to be arrested or to be invited. I think that we need to be careful in this country. The EC must not budge to the dictates of any political party. You see, John Mohamed said it, and today it's still true, that they have independent minds to work, and they should still have independent minds to work. The other day I was talking with the deputy chief majority whip on City FM, and he was associating
Martin Yindam.
And he was associating himself with the EC. He said, we are going to make sure we are going to do it, whether you like it or not.
But he said, yesterday I heard him on Joy. He said that, you know, the support by members of parliament given to Bernard Bonner.
When you repeat these statements, then you rather
was a full support.
You know,
yeah.
So don't propagate it.
It's not.
No, I'm not propagating it. I just want people who have been in parliament for many years
to be honorable,
longer than
in their discussion.
No, I'm talking about Honorable Rashid Pelpuo. I mean, he has seen it all when it comes to politics and politics. And for his colleague to have done that, I want him to caution him. That's why I'm asking this question.
He's duly cautioned, because you don't have to denigrate your like publicly in matters that you are emotional about.
Okay.
Not in matters where you have a reasoning about.
Okay.
You know, this is emotional speech. Okay. To say that the people who all went there, they are what? Use a word.
Foolish.
What
it was a foolish and stupid support.
What kind of behavior is it? What kind of utterance is this? So I think he should be cautious. And from here I'm going to speak to him, and I will caution him as well, because you can't lump people together and say that we are there when such things. I don't want to.
I know.
You know, I said there were, and how a whole political party will support a system that. Or remarks that were nauseating, and yet they supported it. This one is simply not close to any one of them. Anyway, so
thank you, Honorable Rashid Pelpuo. For those of you asking about my outfit was designed, produced by Eku Fashion in Tema. Eku Fashion, but he delivers nationwide. His number is 0244 417 855. 0244 417 855. 0244 417 855. And that's Eku Fashion, which is in Tema. Let me quickly remind you again that the WhatsApp number is active, 026 084 6539. Let me now go to the incoming MP for Anyaa Sowutoum to hear his take on this whole conversation about the EC.
Well, thank you once again, Kwame. I would hope Ghana listens carefully, and this message I'm about to give should address this issue squarely in as much as I can, and also it goes to all people who are politically inclined. Now, countless times I have said peace is also expensive. Peace is also expensive. War is expensive, but it is of no use. Peace is expensive, but it is useful. For MDC or MPP, if we have a peaceful country, whether you're in a position or not, it is far better for you. And let me repeat this. Whether you're NDC, CPP, NPP, if you're in a position and the country is peaceful, you are still better off than creating mayhem and being still in opposition. Now, with regards to statements that are made by people on TV, on radio, or on any media platform, we need to use some decor in our language. We need to be circumspect in our utterances. Now, the reason why I say that is that some things may inflame the society. You may not go and take action, but somebody may go based on your utterance. And as such, all of us, be it MPP, NDC, or any party, should be careful when they make utterances. If there are people within my party who make damning utterances, it's unfortunate. I don't run and manage the entire party. However, like I said, all of us from today should be very careful and mindful of what we say. Now, with regards to the EC, and all this noise we're making, I have come to a conclusion that any political party should not depend on the EC. Let's look at it from a soccer standpoint. If you're going to match with an opponent and you are depending on the referee solely to win the match, you'll be making a mistake. So what is important for NDC, what is important for MPP, what is important for CPP is to make sure that their political gains, their performance at the election day will not be largely dependent on the EC. And I think my party's secretary, John Bodu, has also said this, that although we are a party in power, we will not depend on the EC. I think John Mahama and the NDC knows what happened when they depended largely on the EC, you know, to their detriment or to their disappointment or to their now in oppositionness. So I'll plead with all of us. The meat of the matter is this, that we should help drive people to go and register. That is the most important thing. If you are any political party, your message to those voting and your activity to ensure that people go out and register is very important. In that sense, if it is even your stronghold or your weak hold, drive up people, encourage them to exercise their right to vote. That should be the main thing. Now, with regards to the EC, I need to say this. Any electoral commission chief or chairperson or woman or chairman, okay, has to be dedicated to making governance more transparent and making governance more accessible when it comes to three key things: election, political campaigning, and also other related issues with regards to information dissemination when it comes to politics. So, in that sense, if we all will agree with the current EC board, the current EC chairperson, she has been worried about the security aspect of the current register in terms of where the data is, who has the password and key, you know, all these things to it. And for that reason alone, if she says she's not comfortable, I see no reason why anybody should be worried about it. Because she is responsible for the electioneering in this country. And she's saying that she is concerned about possible manipulation of data that is in the hands of, let's say, a foreign country. And deeply, if we think deeply, if our election depends on Israel and how they feel about changing anything, we are in trouble. So that we'll be here, we'll go and cast our votes, all right, but interestingly, the outcome might be unfavorable for you, whether you're MPP or NDC.
Again. I don't get it. What do you mean by that?
Well, when I say Israel, what I mean is that STL, the company that brought the initial current tools and equipment that are used for registration, has some, if I should say, access to the biodata and all these things to make adjustments electronically. And let's not be in doubt, because
to what? To our voters register?
Our voter register.
STL.
What I want you to ask,
let's not be in doubt. If I can finish.
Company come in to do this one. It's also a foreign company.
If I can finish.
Yeah.
Yes,
it will not be in the hands of.
But if I can,
to
proceed. If I can finish, okay. Now, it is not long ago that we had the Americans finish their election, and we all know how they've been so concerned, deeply concerned about Russia's interference with their politics. Now, with that said, Ghana should not have a shred of doubt in their mind that to a large extent, politics is not as usual. Politics, electioneering is not as usual. Anything electronic can be hijacked. We are sitting here, and I remember the last election, our Honorable Charlotte Osei was waiting for transmission of data, and somehow there were delays. To the extent that political parties had information earlier than the EC. That is troubling. That is troubling. These are nitty-gritty things that sometimes it's not appropriate for big consumption.
Yeah, but the system of transmission, does not directly affect the validity of a voter. The system of transmission is after the person has casted their ballot and the figures are collated, and the system, I mean, from the coalition center, it's supposed to be moved to the central command system, you know, and then there's that glitch. It doesn't go directly to the heart of the conversation about having a new voters register.
Kwame,
yes, sir.
The key thing here, okay, we have a new commissioner who is deeply concerned about data security, and I think that it is no fault of her. She will be answerable to us and accountable to us as a nation if it should fail. And she has taken a position that, listen, as far as I was not part of the genesis of this. I don't know how it was authored. The key passwords or the final and whatnot. I'll prefer I start afresh. And I said this here not too long ago that, listen, there are corporate takeovers. When new management comes, new management can choose new softwares. You cannot disagree with new management when they say that. They don't collapse
the company. They only choose the softwares.
We're not collapsing AC. We are not.
But you're collapsing an entire system that enables the election process runs smoothly.
How are you collapsing it?
Because you're asking for new voters register. I'm sorry, but the logic in that for me. It's not like I'm waging into any conversation.
I've always also said this, Kwame. As a nation, we may get to a point where we'll say that, listen, every 12 years we'll do a new register, whether it's NDC or MPP in power. If we should agree to that, I think all of this conversation will not even happen.
Now, also,
because somebody thinks that because it is being done under MPP era, boy.
No,
but let me tell you that some have been done under NDC era.
I think it's the conditions under which these things are done.
Yes.
So let's not confuse the two. I'm not sure NDC, Nana Akufo-Addo, if you listen to him very closely in January 2016, he was of the opinion, very unequivocal about it, that all the parties agreed that we had a problem with the voters register, all the parties. So the NDC cannot now say that they don't have a problem with the voters register. However, there were differentiation in the solution to the problem that the voter register had. NDC said, listen, let's not throw the voters register away entirely, because yes, the problems that it has are very few. I mean, you can it's just bloated, right? So there's a way we can clean the system such that it will put parity with what we want. NPP says no. Let's create an entirely new voters register, and that is the fundamental.
And they are not using key identifiable objects.
That's also another problem.
No, voter register birth out. How can you do that?
President Kufuor, and I was.
If you don't have the intention to
rig. His house with Justice Appiah and our reporter.
Oh, okay.
And when we granted him that interview, he said that, listen, every Ghanaian has that fundamental obligation to vote. Because that's the only time you can express yourself. And that's the only time you can have that's the only time you can be eloquently vociferous about your personal feelings with regards to governance process, right? So if you are denying somebody from using a previous voters register, voters ID card, that which the person has used.
Hold on, the court that has stated
the Supreme Court.
Let's be mindful of that. No, but the Supreme Court said that issues with the voter register.
No,
there are issues with the voter ID.
The Supreme Court.
It's not the EC.
But why?
It was one of the things.
Me sitting here. You know me. I'm Kwame Owusu Danso. I have a voter's ID card.
Correct.
You have a voter's ID card.
We all do.
So if I'm saying if the EC wants to create, let's assume that we are all in agreement that the EC should just create a new voters register, no problem. I'm coming with my old ID card. You see my face.
We verify the face.
Fingerprint. You feel, and you are telling me that you cannot use that to register. It doesn't make sense. You see,
or your website.
It doesn't.
That is for.
It doesn't.
That was the interpretation the Supreme Court justices made. It was voted for, and a number of them said that, listen, once it is tainted, skip it all. And I don't think you and I can.
What was the specific? What was the decision? The decision gave a roadmap.
In the roadmap, they said that the issues surrounding the voter ID card, it should not be used. Can you use? You cannot validate something with a wrong code, or shall I say, with something that has been tainted.
Okay, the decision
let's boycott it.
Yes.
Because if this barcode has an issue and you're going to use the same barcode to go and validate something, it is corrupted.
Okay, the decision was made. Hold on. Yes. Okay. Granted. I want to grant you this assumption. It means that the current MP for Anyaa West Wobon is illegitimate because the by-election was held after the decision of the Supreme Court in 2012. The Supreme Court decision was in 2012.
The assembly elections.
It means the assembly election, all the assembly members are illegitimate. That's what you're saying.
In terms of the roadmap, I don't know the end date.
Okay, so let me explain something. But in 2012, the Supreme Court said the Supreme Court asked the EC, asked the EC to clean the voters register. Listen, that was it was part of the decision, the ruling of the Supreme Court that cleaned the voters register because it was a subject of controversy.
But the period
subsequent to that, subsequent to that, Afarijan put together a committee. You remember? Is it Justice VCRAC Crab to look at the voters register and help clean it up? Subsequent to that, the NPP had a problem because they said that even after the clean of the voters register, you still had well over 585,000 ghost names on unfortunate. But if you have, let's assume that was the figure. But you throw away a completely put together the document because of 585,000.
What kills my old man? Let me tell you this. What kills my father is the fact that many names have been even misspelled in the EC.
I have the decision here. I can read it out.
Please read the decision. Respectfully, let me steal 2 minutes of time. I'll give it back to you.
Kwame Danso, then your Danso is spelled Banso. These are terrible.
I agree with you.
Terrible.
I agree with you. So those people can just bring their own voters and then just correct the names.
Do you know how difficult it is to do that change?
Okay, but
they'll tell you to go and do oath and all these things. Okay. I'm telling you.
But commissioners of oath
go to court and do oath.
But commissioners of oath but this particular one also has.
It's unfortunate.
No. This particular one also have commissioner of oath to vote for. So for persons who want to vote for others, there will be a commissioner of oath. So but let me listen to the decision
before we go here.
Okay.
To add to this, my plea, and this is going to EC. Do not make spelling mistakes with the names.
I'm not done with you. I'm not done with you.
If you're not sure, don't write the name.
But I'm not done with you. Your submission is not huge problem. Your submission is not complete.
Very huge problem.
This is the order of the court.
The court.
The Electoral Commission must take immediate steps to clean the current voters register. It must also take provisions for the re-registration of eligible persons whose names would have been otherwise been deleted through the cleaning up process. So what it says is that
please, we were talking about the
Supreme Court in a 5-2 decisions on Thursday generally ruled the Commission's launch swift and action to delete names of minors, dead persons, and persons who had registered and voted in the 2012 polls with national ID, national health insurance cards banned to use for use as means of identification in voter registration. It's the national ID card they banned,
that is
not the voter ID card.
There's a comment there. I don't think you have the whole summary. I mean, there's a summary on the voter's ID card. It will not be a valid thing to validate your Ghanaian citizenship.
I know there's nothing like that.
Oh, have you read the entire thing?
I have the ruling here.
There's a huge summary. The ruling is there, but the huge summary. So back to my point. My whole thing is that, listen, the EC chair has the right, by virtue of her position, to approve all voting equipment for these things: security, accuracy, reliability, and accessibility, to ensure that every vote that is voted is counted as it is voted. Now, if your EC boss says that, listen, I'm not comfortable with the current gadgets for its fulfillment of these things, let's change it. What's your problem?
Change it, but don't prevent people from registering.
I mean, and I don't think anybody is going to prevent anybody from registering. And it is even commendable that the pilot project has started in somebody's quote-unquote stronghold, meaning that the EC has their stronghold at heart. They didn't start in some place where is assumed to be somebody's stronghold. They started in your stronghold. So my word again to the NDC and all the other parties, and even to my party MPP, is that listen, let us market the new register. Let us encourage people to go and register. Let's drive up the message. Let's drum up the message that listen, there's a new register coming up. Those of us who have moved from various different places, students who were at Tech, who have come to Accra, students who are at Legon, who are now in Kumasi, and all of us who have changed one rental home to another, there's a time for you to feel free and go and register where you want.
Okay,
and,
all right.
And let us be very mindful of making sure that our name is spelled wrongly, our date of birth is done correctly, because this is a very solid document for our future as a nation. And I believe that just as other entities benefited from the voters' ID, i.e. the banking system, they will be very happy about this new register, in the sense that it is going to be another identification when you go to bank.
All right.
And we should fight wrong naming, spelling, and all these things. And that is what I would hope that our abled Rashid Pelpuo will tell his WA people that, listen, as you're going to register again, make sure your name is spelled correctly. Do not take home a wrongful name, because on that D-Day, your verification might have a problem.
Their names are on their birth certificates, yet you are refusing to accept their birth certificates as you know, one of the documents needed for registration. So how do you?
It is unfortunate. It is unfortunate that our birth and death registration is not up to par with current modern situations. And Kwame, many people can do fake birth certificates in our country.
Thank you. Good morning to you, KOD. MPP has virtually become the spokespersons for the EC. I think the new EC boss is actually in bed with the MPP. Greetings to Aladi Ebi Hussein. This one was sent in by Osman in Tamale. Good morning to you. Put all jokes aside, KOD, you are very, very smart. Nana A. Amankwa from Cape Coast sent in this one. Thank you, sir. I appreciate. So Dr. Adomako Kissi, today you are disturbing our ears. Good morning to you, KOD. The work of your panelists is great, but MPP is aware. Is MPP aware of what they did to rig the 2016 elections? Oh, MPP is aware of what they did to rig the 2016 elections. That is why they don't want to use the old register, saying it is hijacked. Please, can I get my BR number to Honorable Pelpuo? One of his BR is in Wa. House number B3. I don't know what he means by that.
BR. What is that?
I don't know. Can I get my BR number to Honorable Rashid Pelpuo? He said you have some BR house in Wa, house number B3. I don't know.
Separate discussion later.
Yeah, separate discussion. KOD, good morning to you. I humbly wish to advise the AC and its alliance and the antagonizing parties to constructively listen to each other with the intention of understanding the underlying element of conflict to deal with issues. The EC and other stakeholders should work collaboratively to deal with misunderstandings while leading to win-win situation and help build peaceful political atmosphere. Let's remember that too much deprivation leads to aggression. Francis Ahianyo Ahovi from Oyibi sent in this one. Good morning to you. Tell Dr. Adomako Kissi to stop defending the EC. Abanzu Solomon sent in this one. Good morning to you, Kwame. Both the Ghana card and the passport are alien to the electoral process. Let us rather use the old voters card for the new register if the EC is really being honest. Kwame, tell Dr. Adomako Kissi that the meeting that was held by the EC, which NDC boycotted, was because it was an information-giving meeting, not a meeting to build consensus. Haj Faisal from Kaswa. Abdul Razak in Tamale says, good morning to you, KOD. Please tell Dr. Adomako Kissi that I have my name on my Ghana card spelled wrongly. So how sure is he that EC will not make that mistake?
That's why I'm pushing. You know.
This one also says more vim, bro. More vim to you too. Kosame from Nima says, so Dankwa Institute has suddenly become the lawyers of be tested before resuming. Okay, can't we at least do a sample test for teachers as they will be marking books and students handling same? Good questions there. You're asking very, very vital questions. I can't read it. Kwame also a free listo in Akemo Dancers. Kwame, please. Hey. Okay, he says I'm asking too many questions. He says new voters register is a must. Okay, Mr. Sweet from Owa says I greet you all. We use birth certificate to get passport. We use birth certificate to get Ghana card. So if we must use only passport and Ghana card for voter registration, why is the mother birth certificate not allowed for the voter registration? I can't think far. Alaji Hamza and Pig Farm also says, K.O. the good morning to you. Please help me out. Which ID card is going to be used in the upcoming Congress for the MPP to elect their members of Parliament? Also, in the likelihood there's a resignation in Parliament, what register will be used for by-elections? Well, interesting questions.
We're
there.
close to
why is the NDC behaving?
So,
why is the NDC behaving as if it was the EC that ruled out birth certificate as one of the documents for securing the new voters' ID? Okay, greetings to you and your panelists. Please find out from I don't know which show you're watching.
I have curled out the ruling. I just went to the substantive ruling, curl it out and giving it to you on your WhatsApp. Please read it for the public. I can
I'll do that.
Yeah.
KOD, how solid is this new voter card going to be that makes it unique than the existing one, which even considered birth certificate legitimate as asserted by the MPP man Maxwell from Nkwala sent in this one? People are still asking about my costume. Cool fashion. His number is 0244417855. So you can call him for yours as well. Okay. Okay. But before I read this, let me listen to you, because I've not listened to you. Let me listen to you before I read out that which was sent to me by Dr. Rashid Pelpuo, please.
All right. In relation to the EC,
yes.
First of all, we must understand one thing. Democratic constitutionalism itself is a progressive, dynamic exercise. For, at all times, institutions of governance, institutions of democracy, institutions of politics must see some level of progress. So it is not, I don't have any problem with the new register. I don't have any problem. I think it is within the context of progressive nature of democracy that we should have a new register to respond to the needs of our situation at the time. My problem with the EC, and I have always stated that, is the manner in which it handles the new voters register. Because the new voters register is not going to be an exercise only meant for the EC. It's not going to be an exercise only meant for a particular political party. It's not going to be an exercise only meant for a particular segment of the population of the Republic of Ghana. It is to ensure the enhancement of the quality of democratic governance in this country. And therefore, all the key players must have the opportunity to bring their inputs. All of them, even if you are rejecting the input of a particular key player, you must do that, 1, on the basis of respect, 2, on the basis of decency, 3, on the basis of civility. You must ensure that everybody is respected. And where you reject someone's proposal, you must also have the burden of justification. So the manner in which EC handles the electoral process is my problem. But I don't see anything wrong with us to have a new voters register. People are questioning, and I think you've also fired that question, that yes, if we think that this one is not good, is defective, why do we still use it for whatever? It is because we regard it as something progressive, something dynamic. The fact that it's defective does not mean that it is not applicable. It can still be applied, even in its defective nature. But for us to move from average to excellence, we must ensure the new register. So let's see it. All of us should see it as something that will ensure progress in our democratic journey. Now, in relation to Bernard Monat issue, you know, Bernard Monat is a very good brother of mine. We've done a lot of things together, yes. And both of us are Tamakulians, Tamakula House in Tamasco. He's a very good brother of mine. What happens here is a matter of politics of insults, which is a feature of Ghana's democratic politics. It would be unfair to think that Bernard Monat should be singled out for castigation. It would be very unfair. It would be equally unfair to conclude that the CID should not invite anybody that, in its opinion, has done something that is counterproductive to the enhancement of democracy and peace in this country. It will be unfair. What I will say is that we should learn from this. And I think the CID will help all of us to ensure sanity in our democratic environment. If it does it equally, it does it without any shred of discrimination. One politician says something, he goes scot-free. Another politician says something, the CID interprets it to be a threat to national security. And if it does that, definitely it will lose public credibility. And this reminds me, Kwame, remember, you and I intended to go to Oxford University.
Yes,
for a publication, for a presentation, that an academic paper that I authored. I think this gives relevance to my academic paper. The title is Politics of Insult, a Threat to Constitutional Democracy. I think we'll still go in October. We're supposed to do the presentation for possible publication in June. This because of the COVID, I think the conference has been rescheduled. Politicians and via assigns should ensure that there is absolute peace for effective conduct of democratic governance in the interest of the Republic of Ghana. Thank you.
Thank you very, 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 very much. I don't know if you don't have anything to say, maybe I can read a few messages. Doc, do you have anything to add?
Oh, just to say that,
okay,
you see, the reason we are upset with the EC is not just the fact that they want to conduct a new register, but the fact that it's unconvincing. The reasons advanced by them is unconvincing. The steps being taken are suspicious. What steps are they taking? Do a new register and then eliminate birth certificates as a fundamental ID that recognizes the citizenship of a person, that can be used to do a passport, but don't use it to do a voter ID. Then use a Ghana card which has only a few people in Ghana registered. Of the 30 million people that are in this country, they are able to do only 11 million, and according to their own statistics. But that only 7 million of the 11 are in the voter population. So these 7 million people are the only ones who are qualified to come and register. And that's the only document they want to use, plus a passport. How many people have a passport? So it's like it's a deliberate attempt to eliminate a section of people who don't have these two IDs.
Okay.
And that's our discontent about it.
Okay. NDC have no good story for Ghanaians and also have no good candidates. Luke Imbugri inside Adenta sent in this one. This one is also from, it said, let's pass a law so that any change of a voter register should be done during the second year of coming into power in order to avoid advantages by the parties in power. Instead of making a new voters register, the EC should rather take this period to clean the existing register to avoid putting unnecessary pressure on the citizenry and ask those who will be affected to register along those who did not have their names on the register. From some. This one says, expose Sami from Inzima. Where is your message? Elvis from Hostess, good morning to you, Champion KOD, and to you all. Dr. Adomako Kissi is saying the EC hasn't gotten the password to access the current voters register. How did they get the current register to conduct the assembly elections? Creation of new 6 regions and also the by-elections at Ayoaso West Wogon recently. Okay. Good morning to you, KOD, and this message. Okay. Good morning, KOD and your panelists. I learned that the president says those with underlying health issues should not attend church and mosque. What has it got to do with anything? And want to know if that principle applies to students. If not, why? And also, if they are exempted, won't that be a worry to those students and their parents? Good morning to you, KOD. Does the EC want to tell us that birth certificate is not important again? Saeed from Tamale sent in this one. This one says, good morning to you, Pan-African TV. I'm called Abdullah Abdul Rashid inside Tamale Technical University. My problem is with regards to educational system in Ghana. What has it done? The message is incomplete. Send it in again. Bernard Ifa says, you only said Bernard Ifa, that's all. Okay, let me do some WhatsApp messages as well, and then we'll wrap up. Good morning to you and your viewers. There's a saying that if a person's interest dominates his or her reasoning, he or she becomes a fool. I also know that there is nobody who is going to tell a lie and doesn't know within himself or herself that he or she is going to tell a lie, because he or she is going to frame it in his mind or her mind before voicing it out. Mohamed A. Sadiq from Tamale sent in this one. Aliu Mahama Busa says, good morning to you, KOD, and to the Honorable MP for West Central, Rashid Pelpuo, for his wonderful submissions this morning. In fact, you are sharing free knowledge this morning. And let those who have ears listen, and those who want to learn also learn. I must commend you for always making your points clear without any form of ambiguity and without any malice. Please, I want to know if I can decide to acknowledge or not to acknowledge a product of a proposed register which by all intent and purposes seek to deny me and many others the chance to register as my elected representatives, and no action will be taken against me. I ask because I have been hearing some people from the government side say the decision to register as qualified voter is a choice because of the convenience. The decision to be a citizen, okay, it's quite long and not really clear. Eric from USA says, please stop campaigning for Dr. Adomako Kissi. Hey, good morning to you. Tell MPP people should stop playing with the lives of Ghanaians. This one is from King Ike in Aflao. Mr. Host, I like the way you are hosting the program. It doesn't make sense to ignore the birth certificate and to ask you to ensure your name is correctly spelled. Tomabu Abraham in Agogo. Please, I want to know the credibility of a leader who can't stand by words. Ezekiel from Garu. Messages are plenty. I want to ask if it is God that makes you a citizen or human beings. Robert from Spintex. Sure, was a country. You are a country governed by law, so.
Yeah, a lawyer.
Tell Dr. Adomako Kissi that because of these spelling mistakes, that is why the register must be reviewed periodically. Remember that your biodata doesn't need revision. Please tell him to stop misleading us. Kweku Jakiti sent in this one. Good morning, Bra Kwame. I'm Agalo from Asin Fosu. What's the objective of compiling a new voters register? What's wrong with the EC cry? Can Ghost also vote? Can Ghost come and vote? We can't go and queue under a scorching sun and in rain, all in the name of register. This is frivolous and vexatious. Ghana deserves better. Say, can Ghost also come and vote?
In Ghana, yeah. Sometimes.
Felix Wayakwete says, I wish to commend you for your sterling performance as a host of the great Pan-African TV show. I wish you could play this common sense presented in this video. Thank you very much, and I think my time is up. Honorable Rashid Pelpuo, thank you as always for your time.
Yeah, you've not read the...
Oh, yes, I haven't.
I
haven't. But, okay, well, I just have a few seconds. But I can... Okay, let me just read it. It's long, actually.
It's long.
Yeah, so maybe we'll do it later. Okay. Later, I'll find a way of factoring that into maybe Justice Appears program tonight at 9 p.m.
But let me also commend
please
for
being one of the best hosts.
Thank you,
on
sir.
TV, morning show.
Thank you, sir.
And that's wonderful. I've heard a number of people say it, and it's testified on the messages you are receiving.
Thank you.
My colleagues, isn't it?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you. I'm grateful, and I think it's because also I have you here. You know, I have to demonstrate that I understand the issue. So you also help me bring out the best in me. Thank you very much, and thank you to you, Dr. Marzuq. Thank you to you, Dr. Adomako Kissi. Definitely the incoming member of Parliament for Anyaa Sowutoum, and of course Dr. Rashid Pelpuo. You know that. Wa Central is for him. My name is Kwame Owusu Danso. So let me say a big thank you to all those. Abraham Kumsin, I just saw your message. AU Farouk, I've seen your message. Dipku Ishmael, I've seen your message. I can't read them. I'm sorry. Alhaji Hamza in Pig Farm, I've seen your message. Farouk in Tema, I've seen your message. Landlord Bolga Dylan, I've seen your message. Masaudi in Kumasi, I've seen all your messages. I can't read them. I apologize to you because of time. But I can trust that you've enjoyed today's conversation. I have, especially with the educational reforms. I'm going to be putting those videos together as snippets, and then I'll spread it on my social media platform. So you will see them. Dr. Rashid Pelpuo's submission on education, Dr. Adomako Kissi's submission on education, and of course Dr. Marzuq's submission on education will be on Pan-African TV's Facebook page. So later you can download them and also spread it across. Beautiful submissions, and that's how we can all together bring about the change and the development that we're looking for. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Do have a very blissful day. Salute.
Thank you.
What you want? And now so to way. Mama young to Abanuma Dr. Adomako Kissi. Now I'm not the other couple shasas so. Move on to Manuel. Dr. Kissi, young vote to Manuel. Dr. Adomako, young vote to Manuel. Move on to Manuel. Dr. Kissi, young vote to Manuel.